Tonight, the part of Bill Murray will be played by Tom Hanks. I didn't see the new Fallout series that was recommended to me because did go and start looking through Amazon Prime because I have it, but I never ever watch a movie on it. The last time I used Amazon Prime for a video platform is when I had to buy Santa's Apprentice. And still a great movie, super hard to find, but that's neither here nor there. I was starting to watch Fallout and I was like, oh god, each episode's like a movie. Each episode's like an hour and 15 minutes. Like, if you're a Doctor Who fan, you wouldn't complain. But I was like, oh. So instead of that, I just watched Asteroid City.
You little princesses want to drink.
Oh, we're not princesses.
I'm a vampire. I'm a mummy in Egypt who got buried alive and came back alive with his head chopped off.
I'm a fairy.
A movie that's been sort of on my radar for a while, but never never got the chance to see it.
What's that? What's that?
I don't know.
Probably now my new favorite Wes Anderson movie. I'm not a huge Wes Anderson fan. Like, I don't like Rushmore, at all. Though Life Aquatic had its own charms, but I was just kind of, what else is there? There's Rushmore, Life Aquatic. I'm trying to figure out my low tier. Okay, I can definitely tell you that, Mr. Fox and this movie are basically tied for my favorite Wes Anderson film.
Wow. Yeah, that's great news.
The Boy Scout ones, that was okay. The Jarjiri Limited was really heartwarming when it came to the relationship with the brothers. And then I think third place is the Grand Budapest. Grand Budapest sort of loses me here and there. But this one just feels like a cartoon. It's definitely a lot more comedic. The structure of the movie is actually the star of the film. You have the Malcolm in the middle of the dad. No one calls him that. Everyone calls him Heisenberg now. Oh yeah, Bryan Cranston. Now, Bryan Cranston sounds like the made-up fake name when you think about it. And it's got William Dafoe in it as a relatively small part for William Dafoe. Described as a televised version of a stage play that's not... It's not being produced as a play, or is it? But it's actually a behind-the-scenes TV show of it. They definitely... A lot of the charm of the movie is about playing with, the perception of the audience and where they are at any given time. And you gotta be pretty ballsy as a director to be I'm gonna constantly, play and remind you that what you're watching is sort of a fake thing, but within a fake thing, within a fake thing. And you're still going to be interested in every sort of aspect of where the characters are going.
Am I not in this?
It's meant to be behind-the-scenes reenactment of making the play, but it actually serves as flashbacks. There's one point where the screenplay writer is meeting the guy who will play the father. In a very ballsy move, the guy comes in and sets up his own stage. He steals paperwork from his desk or something and then stuffs it in his shirt, and that becomes this kind of fatherly paunch, and then just walks out to music and does this great monologue.
It's a fact, we're not alone. The aliens stole the asteroid, long thought to be a lunar splinter fragmented from the lesser moon of the hypothetical planet Magnavox 27, now considered a rogue pygmy comet Tet, according to the encyclopedia.
And then they have a gay romance. And of course, because it's a Wes Anderson film, there's this this artifice to everything. The opening looks like it could be a model train, or I dare say even made with AI. And then there's just these open barrels of avocados and sacks of grain, and none of it's moving. There's not an avocado bouncing out of place. It looks like such a cartoon. I should explain what the actual plot is. All these different people are showing up to Asteroid City because there's some sort of science award ceremony at that very moment, that weekend. There's also this, I don't know, not a solar eclipse. I forget what they call it in the movie. Gabriel from Constantine explains it.
I don't know how many of you ever observed an astronomical ellipses before. In fact, can we get a show of hands? Nobody? Wow.
But anyway, they're there. The military and some corporation is giving out awards to these kids. So there's these families, and there's a school trip, and then there's just this band of cowboy singers there because they're just like traveling through, and they all get caught up. Not mystery, anti-mystery. Because, surprise, the big spoilers, but the alien shows up like halfway between the movie. It just kind of shows up and takes the rock and leaves. It's that big thing. It's the first clip I saw on YouTube when I was like, oh yeah, this movie exists. And I was surprised. I thought, when I was watching that clip on YouTube, I was like, oh wow, I'm watching the finale. The movie I had in my head was very different from the movie I ended up getting. Like Royal Tenenbaums, where it's like, okay, they all have these issues. Something happens, and then they're just going to all like push their issues aside because they realize there are more important things in their lives.
I play him as a metaphor. That's my interpretation.
Metaphor for what?
I don't know yet.
No, that's like the whole town gets like quarantined halfway through the movie, and they just spend an extra week there. Also, the movie is just like a fairy tale, basically. There's like laser pistols and everything. I knew that the movie wasn't going to be serious. When Jason Schwartzman, his lighter is running on empty, so he then has the gas pump attendant just pour a shitload of gasoline straight from the pipe into his lighter. And he just kind of flicks it off and then lights it up. When in reality, he would have just like gone up in flames. It's also, I want to say, without like digging too deep into the movie, the way they handle the actual aliens showing up is like really fanciful, like in a way that you think like a liberal would think that the government works. They just keep everyone there for an extra like week or so. The military is just like quite cordial. There's like one incident where emotions run high. I'm sort of like wondering if it's like a jab at like a liberal perception of what the government would do, because there's like talk about like how, oh, we can't take his photo away from him. He's protected by civil rights. The guy literally gets a photo of an alien, and then one of the students like manages to like trick the army into making a phone call, and he like sends a news report to his school newspaper. It becomes part of like national news, and there's like a carnival that gets set up, and there's a huge tourist trap, and the army, the general guy, the most he has to say about it is, "Aw shucks, I'm super pissed off at you." And again, going back to wait, are the Asians getting the tent because is that like a half-hearted liberal statement on the internment camps? Their cabin accidentally burnt down. The only compensation they had was a tent. And I was like, oh, this is like a playwright from like the 1950s. Is this some sort of statement on the concentration camps? Maybe, maybe not. I've seen a bunch of people try to like decipher what the movie is like all about. And I've seen I was starting to look through video essays, but I was like, you know what, never mind. I like this movie way too much. I'm gonna keep it to myself and like turn it around in my hand a couple times, like a thinking stone. There's a bunch of things about the movie that seems like it's gonna go somewhere, and then it just kind of doesn't. It says it's like a comedy drama, but it's like actually anti-drama.
Yes, dare you what? To climb that cactus out there?
Oh,
Please
no.
don't.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that, because there are movies of his that are dramas, like The Grand Budapest, and that has an overarching plot about like who killed the old woman, or we gotta like make it home on this train, or the inheritance of the Royal Tenenbaums. Like The Mother's Death and the alien just showing up out of nowhere, that there are these incredibly disruptive events in our lives, and then sometimes you just got to kind of keep moving forward.
I can actually carpool the girls to school by golf cart, if I cut across a 14T.
Oh, it's that close, the elementary.
How can you two even think about this? The world will never be the same. What happens next? Nobody knows.
And again, when I said, like, it's non-drama, yeah, Jason Schwartzman, he calls the grandfather because the car breaks down, and he's all like, I haven't told them their mother died yet. And then he's all like, that sucks. You gotta at some point. And he's all like, yeah, I know. And then he does. And you think, like, oh, that's going to play out the whole movie. Or at least wait for, like, yeah, like the end of the second act, start of the third act sort of thing. No, it just happens and it's out of the way. And then he meets a movie star, and you think there's going to be this, like, drama with, like, oh my God, you're replacing mom, like, right away. That never comes up. There's nothing about that from any of the kids. So it's not like that's like nothing comes of that. Another example about how there's like no real like ramifications of what all these people just saw comes in the form of like there's this school trip, and the school trip is, I don't know if they come from an actually like Catholic school or anything, like a private school. Super religious kids, or rather the teacher is like super religious and tells the kids to always say grace and thank him for everything. And there's just like maybe one scene later on where like the teacher's a bit flummoxed, and you can sort of feel like she's trying to process like the idea of life on other planets and the ramifications of it. And a kid just sings a song, and she falls in love, and that's the end of that plot cul-de-sac. Plot cul-de-sac of the movie. That's what this should be called. Like, the alien shows up, and the military doesn't want to actually keep them any longer than, like, a week. So they're all just like, whatever, you can go. And it's not that the movie, like, nothing happens in the movie. Like, lots of things happen in the movie. Pan out the way you think they will. And it really kept me on my toes, actually. Because I was like, what's happening with this now? What is this nonsense? Like, there was a point, I swear to God, I thought, like, the head scientist at the research center was trying to, like, seduce the kid. Because she was being extremely forward about him being, like, part of her, like, saying, oh, you could, I'm giving you, like, an internship, you could be my assistant. And the scene lasts, like, maybe 2 minutes, and then it's never brought up again.
I'm sorry about your mother. I miss mine too, and she died 46 years ago.
Thank you.
And you think, like, a movie where nothing happens, like, what the hell, what's the climax gonna be? Well, the climax is literally Jason Schwartzman, like, leaving the play. He has a conversation with the guy running the play, because unfortunately the writer died in a car crash, and we find that out like midway through. In fact, when I hear a lot of people on like doing their video essays saying like, oh well, this is what the movie's about, I don't think you're not supposed to know what it's about, because the movie makes it a point in saying that like when there is a literal death of an author within the middle of it. And Jason, the father character, like literally asks multiple times in the movie why a character does a certain thing. He basically spills his guts to like the stage manager and says, what am I doing? I don't understand what's going on. How am I supposed to feel? Like, stage manager just says, I don't know. And so he then says, I gotta go get fresh air. And he like literally wanders. He walks out to a balcony and he lights up his cigarette. And then there's another actress from another play that's going on just like across the street. And she's on the other balcony. Turns out that this is the woman who was going to originally be the mother in the play. And it relates back to an earlier part of the movie where the writer of the play says, I want to have a dream sequence. And then when he sees her, she's like, why weren't you in the play? And she says, oh, they cut my scenes for time, I was going to show up in the dream sequence. And she's like, do you remember the lines? And they have a really touching scene that basically, in a way, the mother talking to the father about what to do with the son sort of helps him out through his own emotional crisis he's having about portraying this character. Again, there are disruptive things in our lives. You find the things that you love or the things that interest you. You just kind of grow and grab onto each other. It was actually a really, really ingenious way of incorporate. Again, the behind the scenes parts of the movie are all meant to be flashbacks within the greater story. And then there's this weird part where William Dafoe's starts a chant with all the other actors. Every character from the movie starts chanting that, and then the alien shows up again and walks towards camera.
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
What was that?
What's that mean?
You can't wake up if you don't fall asleep.
What?
That's not true.
Say it again.
Who cares?
So anyway, that weird chant at the end of the movie is basically just a way to get you to the final part. Again, you think all these different plot points would bump up with each other. But everyone just has a lot of candor about how they feel at any given moment, and it really doesn't there's no bitterness towards any of the characters, except maybe Tom Hanks, who's just a little peeved with his son-in-law. It's kind of it's the most depressing feel-good movie and the most existential feel-good movie. Again, Mr. Fox was my favorite, but now I think it's a tie. But let's see. Maybe the sort of the glow of this movie will wear off. It certainly has way more of a it has again, I'm just blown away by the narrative structure and how well he kind of plays with it. You might like this. Everything's bite-size. If you're not a huge fan, nothing overstays its welcome.
That's my speech.